Hello, and welcome to the Full Send Half Mast podcast, episode 31. It's just going to be me here tonight, but we got some great stuff to talk about. We got a ton of news to go over here today. Also, we're going to cover all of the races that happened this weekend. We had Formula One weekend there in Zandvoort. We had IndyCar, Indy NXT at Worldwide Technology. We had ARCA and ARCA East combo race with the trucks at Milwaukee. IMSA Pilot in the WeatherTech Series of VIR, as well as Xfinity and Cup Series there at Daytona for the Cup Series regular season finale weekend. We're also going to give you our infamous Driver of the Week, Bonehead of the Week segments. We'll cover the playoff field. We have a special podcast coming up on Thursday to cover that in depth, but I'll let you know who the drivers are. Go over the point standings in IndyCar and Formula One as well. Preview all the races this weekend. We got Formula One back at Monza. We got Indy NXT at Portland, ARCA at the DuQuoin State Fair, and Xfinity and Cup at Darlington for Southern 500 weekend. Super excited about that. I'll give you my NASCAR fantasy as well as our Radioactive of the Week segment. And I got a few other cool things to talk about as well. But before we get into that, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. W Energy Blends, introducing NeuroFactor, an all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you with energy, laser focus, and fast reflexes. Provides concentration with important aminos and vitamins without the crash that ordinary canned energy drinks just cannot provide. Try amazing flavors such as Dragonade, Dub Sludge, Galaxy Grenade, and my personal favorite, Beach and Peach. Buy the starter pack today, including 2 flavors and a shake cup for an extremely low price. Follow the link in the description below and use promo code DAGABOYS for 10% off your order. Thanks to W for their continued sponsorship of DAGABOYS Broadcasting. All right, we're going to get this episode kicked right off here with news. Like I said, there is a ton of news going on in the motorsports world right now, and we're going to cover it. So earlier this week, since we've been gone, GMS in the truck series, Gallagher Motorsports, they have announced that they are going to be shutting down at the end of the 2023 season. This is some bad news, especially with the growing interest in racing as of late, and then to see a team shut down, it's really sad to see. So hopefully they can get a good send off, which we'll talk about here in a little bit later with the truck finale. Also, we saw this weekend Trevor Bayne, he's made a start at Daytona. He's also going to be making multiple starts this season at Bristol, Texas, and I believe also this weekend at Darlington. So that's pretty interesting to see him back in the sport. Also, Porsche's GTP car that runs an IMSA just got added to iRacing. Or is getting added to iRacing. So that's super excited for any of you iRacers out there. I know you guys are into that stuff just as much as I am. So that's pretty cool to see another GTP car being added to complement the Corvette. And then as well, Parker Kligerman re-signs with Big Machine Vodka for 2024. Currently sitting on the inside of the playoff bubble there in Xfinity with 2 races to go. Gets re-signed for 24, bring back his talents, and see what he can do next year. Also, Kevin Magnussen and Hulkenberg get re-signed with Haas in 2024 to run their F1 cars. Apparently, they like what they're doing over there. They got some good groove going. I guess they're going to continue that on into 2024. So congratulations to them and maintaining their rides in Formula One. As well, Kurt Busch finally announces his official retirement from NASCAR. Super sad news. Me and Tom were kind of hoping maybe there was a chance we could see him come back, run some of races here in the near future, and unfortunately, he has called it quits from his NASCAR career. Really sad news. I know Tom is a huge Kurt Busch fan. I mean, I'm a huge Kurt Busch fan, but hopefully he finds a route in the broadcasting world because we know how good of a broadcaster he is. So hopefully that is what turns into for him. And hopefully he sticks around NASCAR. He's a great personality to have around and a really great talent that could be a great mentor to a lot of younger drivers. Also, big shakeups in the Wood Brothers Penske camps. Jeremy Bolins, who was crew chiefing for Austin Cindric, will be now moving over to crew chief at Wood Brothers for Harrison Burton, while Brian Wilson, who was crew chiefing for Harrison Burton, will serve as crew chief for Austin Cindric for the remainder of the season. I think this is a much needed change around. I mean, the performance of these two cars has been just awful this year. They've been probably the worst 2 Fords besides maybe Briscoe this season. So hopefully a little bit of shakeup in the crew chief ranks will make a little bit of a turnaround. We've seen it in the past with crew chief changes that we've seen better performances out of certain drivers and teams. So hopefully for their sake, this will be something that turns around for them. Not that I think that they are exceptional talents. I really am not very high on these two drivers at all, but with a little bit of shakeup, maybe something interesting will happen. Also this weekend, and I'll mention this again later in the notable entries for this weekend, but Carson Hocevar will be making his second Cup Series start with Legacy Motor Club at Darlington. I'm super excited about this. Huge Carson Hocevar fan. I think this guy's got a ton of talent. I think he's going to be a future Cup Series star. Just give him a few years of development, but we saw how good he did there in Aspire car at Gateway. Let's see if he can back it up here at Darlington. It's a very tough track, especially for a rookie with not a lot of experience in this car. It's going to be a tough day for him, but if he could just complete all the laps, do what he needs to do as a rookie, maybe he can gain some more experience and build on that confidence for the future. So good luck to him this weekend. Also, announced out of the Meyer-Shank IndyCar camp, the number 60 for Simon Pagenaud. We know that he got hurt at that crash at Road America where he flipped. It's been out for a while. They have announced that Tom Blomqvist, he also drives in the IMSA WeatherTech Series for Acura and Meyer-Shank Racing. He will be filling in for the remainder of the season in the IndyCar Series in the number 60 car. So that's pretty exciting for him. Also, ex-Red Bull Junior driver Jury Vips, he is tapped to run the number 30 IndyCar for RRL. Rahal Letterman Lanigan. So that's pretty exciting for him. We'll see how he does. We know that equipment is getting better as of late. We saw the great run that Graham Rahal had at Indianapolis. We saw that Lundgaard won at Toronto. So let's see what they can do with a younger driver making some IndyCar starts. It's be interesting to see. Also this weekend, Daniel Ricciardo, if you all seen, got in a wreck there in FP2 at Zandvoort, ended up breaking his wrist, had to get surgery. And we saw Liam Lawson fill in for him. He did an all right job. I mean, what can you expect from someone filling in last minute? He will be filling in again for Daniel Ricciardo while he continues to recover. So I'm a huge Daniel Ricciardo fan. It's pretty tough to see that happen. He finally gets back into Formula One and then has just absolute terrible luck with getting in a wreck, injuring his hand. And hopefully we see him back soon. But good luck to Liam Lawson as he fills in for Daniel Ricciardo. Those are tough shoes to cover. Also, Rajah Caruth will be making us another start this weekend for Alpha Prime in the number 45 car at Darlington. Super excited. I'm a huge Rajah Caruth fan. I know Tom's a huge Rajah Caruth fan. This guy's got a lot of talent. And like I said with Carson Hocevar this weekend, just go out there, complete all the laps, get as much experience as you can, and hopefully you can build upon that to improve later on and maybe open doors up for yourself to be able to run full-time in Xfinity next year, which I believe he should be because he's a great talent. Look what he's doing as a rookie in the Truck Series. Also, Lewis Hamilton. There's been the rumors going around that he might go to Ferrari, he might jump ship and go leave Mercedes. Well, he just re-signed a multi-year deal to stay with Mercedes in Formula One, so I guess that's not really shocking to me. It might be shocking to some others, but we'll have to see where Mercedes goes. We've seen that they've improved throughout the season. They've been getting better. They climbed their way through up towards the manufacturer title, up to P2 in that standings. Lewis Hamilton's been getting better finishes, so maybe they've got a little bit of a turnaround, a little bit of catch up here with Red Bull. See what they can do here in the future, considering that Lewis Hamilton is coming back. Also this weekend, crew chief Joe Shear Jr. for ThorSport, the crew chief for Ty Majeski, he was fined $25,000 and put on a 4-race suspension for wheel assembly violations. Post-race, there was an interview, Carson Hocevar, and he kind of hinted at this. And he was right, dead right, because they were definitely caught cheating, I guess. And that also took 75 driver owner points away from the number 75 team and 5 playoff points. Fortunate for him, he's locked into the next round. But these 75 points being docked from him is going to be huge throughout the rest of this playoffs, especially those 5 playoff points as well. It's pretty much going to put that 98 team in must-win territory for the rest of the season, which is sad because he is on a championship-esque season. We've said it time and time again. This guy is the podium master, finding ways to get top 3 finishes just about everywhere they go. He's got the pace. He's the fastest guy at ThorSport this season by the head over heels. So we'll have to see how they can fight back and recover from this. I wouldn't count him out. They can win, but without a crew chief and losing all these points, it's going to be a very, very tough battle. And we'll be pulling for him, right? You want to see somebody with their back against the wall be able to perform. So that's what we're going to see out of Ty Majeski, I believe, for the rest of the year. And this 98 team, maybe they're going to rally around him and do some great things. Alrighty, so that covers our news. We're going to go over race previews this weekend. I'm going to start off by saying we saw some of the best races of the season this weekend. Just insane. I mean, from Formula One, we saw a rain-impacted race at Zandvoort. That was an amazing race. I mean, it was one of the better F1 races we've seen all season. IndyCar, again, master class drive from Dixon. We'll get into that. And then we also saw in the IMSA Pilot Challenge Series, the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, one of the best races you'll ever see. I've got some great clips that I want to show you guys because this race was absolutely insane. And then, obviously, we mentioned it in the watch party. That Daytona race this weekend was one of the top 3 races of the season, without a doubt in my mind. One of the best. Actually, me and Dallas both coined it as the best plate super speedway race that we've seen in the next gen era, and I 100% agree. It was an amazing race. We saw runs being developed that weren't. It didn't look like a yo-yo effect, right? We've seen it at Atlanta. Atlanta is a terrible track. It puts on terrible races. It's just a yo-yo train. We didn't see that. We saw a lot of 3-wide racing. We saw runs being able to be developed. We saw guys being able to make moves. We saw people working together effectively. It was an insane race. Same with the Xfinity race. It was a little bit similar to the Cup race, but I think it was a little better because those cars were on edge, right? The whole race. They were slipping and sliding. Something about summertime Daytona racing just makes for amazing racing. And then you throw the Xfinity cars on top of that. Fantastic racing. But so like I said, we'll start off with the Xfinity race. The Wawa 250 powered by Coca-Cola. We saw Austin Hill on pole. I mean, he had head over heels, the favorite. He out-qualified the field by, I think, 0.3 of a second in qualifying. He goes on, wins stage 1. Stage 1 was pretty much like the Cup race. Early in the first stage, you got your track position. You just want to maintain it, run up front. That's what he did. Won stage 1. And then Riley Herbst, right? His issues continue. Something was broken. He had reported it. Tire went down, tore up the whole left front of his car. Really put him behind the 8 ball. He's right there on that cut line, right, with Parker Kligerman and Sheldon Creed coming into this race, trying to find a way to make it to the playoffs, right? We're coming down to crunch time. There's a few races left this season, and it seems like week after week he just keeps having these issues. And somehow they've got to rally around him. They've got to come together as a team to fight off these issues. Fortunate for him, though, we saw a big wreck on lap 42, took out a bunch of guys. I think it was Jones, Connor Mosack, Brett Moffitt, a bunch of guys make contact going through the trial. A big wreck happens. Took out quite a few contenders there. And then they at rest of stage 2, Sheldon Creed goes on to win. Like I said with Austin Hill, these RCR cars were just unstoppable. It looked like for the first 2 stages, they could just make moves that nobody else could make. They just had the pace, were able to control the lines. It was pretty impressive. Our next major crash was with 8 to go. We saw Jeb Burton get sideways. We saw a big wreck behind him with Justin Haley. Ryan Ellis, who looked like he might have been seriously injured. He took a very hard lick. Fortunate was able to climb out of the car. And then Cesar Baccarella as well. He was involved in that. Then we get a restart crash. This is when the race gets really wild, right? This is before we go to overtime. I think it was like 3 or 4 laps to go. The outside line gets a pretty good jump. Trevor Baynes leading the outside line. Austin Hill just gives him a bump and then follows him along his bumper. Turns him sideways. Caught mayhem. Big wreck. It took out a ton of contenders, right? Just a racing deal, in my opinion. I've watched the replay back and forth many times. I can't really figure out who's at fault. It just looked like he gave him a push, got him washed up the track a little bit, continued to lay on his bumper, and it just turned him around. And I mean, when you're the leader in that situation like Bane was, you got to protect. And when you're in Austin Hill's position, you got to go and make a move for the lead. Took out both of those guys, took out many of the Gibbs cars, actually, took out a bunch of other contenders. Sets us up for an overtime finish. Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed battled it out. One of the closest finishes in Xfinity Series history. Allgaier prevails again. Sheldon Creed, another second place finish. This guy cannot buy a break, can't find a way to victory lane. Devastating, just devastating. But Allgaier wins. And fun fact here, I didn't even know this, but that was Allgaier's first ever plate race win or super speedway win. Insane. So congratulations to him, getting a little bit of momentum built up. He's had the pace all year. We've mentioned it time and time again. Allgaier has the pace. He just can't find ways to win. Just can't find ways to win. He'll be leading late in the race, and everything falls apart. I mean, we've seen it week after week after week with this guy. So hopefully they can turn this momentum around and carry the speed on into the playoffs. There's, like I mentioned, 2 races to go: Darlington and Kansas, and then we're boom right into the Xfinity Series playoffs. All right, next will be the Indy NXT race. This was on Saturday night during the Cup race. I wasn't able to watch it, but we saw my favorite coming into the weekend was Christian Rasmussen. He is the points leader. He's been the most dominant. He's leading this race early from the pole. Then he lost the lead there on lap 30 when he was trying to lap Jamie Chadwick up on the outside, and there was a lap car in front of her that put some dirty air on her nose. She washed up the track, almost took out Rasmussen. It was a close call for him. That allowed Hunter McElroy to go by him, and we know how much of a joke that guy is. Oh, man. But fortunate for Rasmussen, he was able to retake the lead there with 35 to go and went on to win the race in pretty dominant fashion. I mean, nobody really had anything for him. So continue to build that points lead and secure the championship. There's only 3 races left because they got a doubleheader at Laguna Seca to finish the season off. So, and then they obviously race this weekend at Portland. So we'll see if Rasmussen can secure that title. All right, now I think this might be the best race of the whole weekend. This race was insane. The Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, the Virginia is for Lovers Grand Prix. We saw the number 95 team, BMW team of Lawrence and McGuinness. They qualified on pole, which, I mean, that's to be expected. They're probably the best Grand Sport team out there. We had early contact between the number 15 Audi, the number 5 Alpha TCRs, caused a caution. And then the teammate, the BMW Grand Sport team there, the 96, they end up backing into the wall. Looked like their race was done. They had the fast car. They just went off track there, VAR, and backed it into the wall, brought out another caution. And then when the race gets good here, I'm going to pull up this clip for you. This clip is just absolutely hilarious. I'll pull it up and you guys can watch.
Yellow BMW with the white hood, Cameron Lawrence behind the wheel, and he has been spectacular racing behind him side by side. 64, not in it for position. Looking down the order, that's Owen Trinkler, well down the order, a lap down, but he is in the middle of this fight.
Oh, he gets in the back of Cameron, he turns him. Oh my goodness, I know Trinkler was anxious to get back on the lead lap, but you don't do that. That's a real mistake by Owen there.
All right, so to put that into context, that the yellow car that spun, that was your second place runner, right? He qualified a pole. They were pretty dominant in this race, and that was a lap car. Owen Trinkler just absolutely KOs the second place driver trying to get his lap back. Didn't even attempt to make the corner. He just drove right through the back of him, spun him out, changed the race, threw it right up, knocked this race right up on its head, right? It was, at this point, it puts the race in control of a couple other guys that were really kind of just playing strategy to be up there, right? Absolutely shenanigans. That's going to nominate Owen Trinkler as a bonehead move of the week. I don't know what you're doing there. You're a lap down. You're trying to get back on the lead lap. You got to be a little bit more patient than that. You can't take out the leaders, man. That was hilarious. And then we get a caution late with about 8 minutes to go. Like I mentioned, some of those guys up front, they were on a different strategy. They were trying to stretch it on fuel. It looked like they weren't going to make it unless we got a caution late. Boom, we get a caution late. The number 5 Alpha Romeo car crashes one of the TCR cars, and it sets up for one of the most insane finishes probably of the season. And I will let that footage play now. This is it was a 1-lap shootout for the end of this race after the caution was out. And you had Westphal and Andrews both trying to stretch it out on fuel. And this becomes absolute insanity. You guys have to check this out.
It may not be fuel. It may be Michelin tires that make the difference.
Look at the backdrop. Robbie Foley, Joey Hand making a move on Luca Mars down into turn 1. Liddell's on the inside of Andrews. They touch. Westphal tries to save her. Andrews is around. Westphal holds the lead.
Side by side. It was 3 wide at one point in time. Aggressive move by Robin Liddell. And now these two cars both low on fuel. Will they have enough to get to the end?
Well, I think Liddell's going to be good with that little fuel save they got under that last yellow. Westphal's still a question mark, and there's battling going on behind. 57 car is not in the mix. There's still a lap down. The next car back is Foley. He sits in P3. Joey Hand is now up to P4 again. Does Westphal have enough fuel to get to the finish? Liddell's going to go on the attack as we see a dejected Scott Andrews. Victory taken out of his grasp once again.
Robbie Foley definitely has fuel on board. He sits 4th, and here's the battle up front. Liddell going to be aggressive, looks to the outside.
Watch for the crossover. He goes to the inside into Oak Tree. What a move by Rob Liddell for the lead.
Liddell has the lead one more time down the back straightaway here at VIR. Look at the 57, not in this fight. He actually is pulling out of the way, giving the position to Robbie Foley. Can Robbie Foley do anything with these two?
Liddell's in great shape fuel-wise. Westphal's just run out of fuel. He's just run out of fuel. Here comes Foley to 2nd. Joey Hand up to 3rd.
Westphal pushed it as far as he could. He only needed about another 3/4 of a mile. Nothing doing. Downhill for Liddell, but does he have enough fuel to get him to the start-finish line? It is a long way away, even if he makes it to the front straightaway. Foley ready to pounce. Hand in 3rd. Unbelievable stuff here at VIR. It is not over until he gets to the line. Foley charging. Robin Liddell sees the flag. Unbelievable. The 71 wins at VIR.
All right, so that race, absolutely insane. I don't know how they all made it through there and that restart going into turn 1. They all make contact. Unfortunate there that they made contact, and it comes down to a little battle, and then obviously Westphal was stretching on fuel, couldn't make it to the end. But just insane. If you don't enjoy that, man, you don't like racing. That was some racing right there. That was good. It was fairly clean. I mean, they just made a little bit of contact, sent Andrews right off the track, but wow, what a race. And then the biggest bright spot there was the 96 car. After backing into the wall early in that race and being buried behind the field, they recovered for P2. P2. Insane. What an insane drive by those guys. But, yep, as I mentioned, or as you saw there, the number 71 car there, the Camaro with Liddell and Depew, they end up winning Grand Sport. What a job. And then the team that's kind of been dominating in TCR, the Audi of Miller and Taylor, they end up winning the TCR class. So, an insane finish. And then you have drama in the middle of the race with your front runners getting taken out by a lap car. Just what a race. What a race. That was awesome. That was some good stuff. All right, next of the weekend was the Formula 2 weekend, the Zandvoort Grand Prix. The sprint race, it saw Hadjar on pole. And then going into turn 1, we just had an absolute carnage, bunch of wrecking into lap 1. And the weather was so severe that they end up having to cancel the race. They just abandoned it. They're like, yeah, we're not going to run the rest of it. So it really helped a lot of the points leaders because they were buried in traffic to start this race. And without it counting as a race, it saved them in points. So that was big for them. But the feature race, it was just as exciting there as the TCR race, or as the Michelin Pilot race, right? So we saw Crawford qualify on pole, and then turn 1. I mean, just absolute shenanigans. I think there was like 5-6 cars that spun going into turn 1. That brought out a safety car, and then we get a restart crash with Iwasa and Maney. They end up making contact into turn 1, ripped off the front nose of Iwasa's car. It was pretty hilarious. And then your points leader on lap 10, after coming off pit lane, cold tires, ends up driving it right into the wall. It just absolute craziness, right? And it's like, okay, now Vesti, he's got a chance to climb back in this points battle. Nope, they made that pit stop under that safety car. They went back on track, and they never tightened the rear tires. Not even tighten them. Nope. What are they doing? And they end up, that killed the race. They were done at that point. Both their wheels come off. The guy, he spins out. He gets stuck on the track. I mean, my thought process is how do you not tighten the lug nuts? Like, they just put the tires on, never tighten up the lugs. What? I can't believe it. I can't honestly believe it. I don't know how that happened. And then how did Frederick Vesti leave pit lane and not realize that his wheels are not tight? Like, how do you not feel that in the car? And then drive out on the track, try to scuff your tires, boom, your wheels just fly right off. You spin, you're done. All those points you could have made up on Porsche for the championship, you just lost all of them right there. Just absolute boneheaded move by Vesti and team. Somebody had to have known. Somebody had to have radioed and been like, hey, we never even tightened the lugs on the rear tires. Like, what is going on? Shenanigans. But Novalak ends up getting the lead through strategy there, right? When he was staying out, caution comes out, pits under safety car, has the lead. He goes on to win his first ever Formula 2 race. So that was just right place, right time for Novalak. That was a good job by him. He gets his first win. All right, so now, like I mentioned, it's the Cup Playoff Cutoff Line race. It's the Coke Zero Sugar 400. We did the live stream, watch party. We were all here. Dallas was in here with us. We had a bunch of interaction in chat. Great race. I mean, from start to finish. We saw the Fords qualify up front. Briscoe was their pole sitter, and they kind of maintained it there for the beginning of the race, but then got shuffled out. The Toyotas made a surge late. Truex ends up winning stage 1. Then on the final lap of stage 2, this is the first big wreck. Hard contact for Blaney. It looked like Bell got into the back of Gibbs there. They were battling side by side coming off of 4. Tags Gibbs, sends Gibbs sideways. He tags Blaney. Blaney straight into the wall. Hard hit. We mentioned it on the watch party, or at least I did. It looked a lot like Dale Sr.'s crash back in 2001. The way that his car, he just got clipped, hit straight into the wall. And I would say this one even looked more violent than that one because the way his car went sideways, he still was full throttle, and it hooked just instantaneous, sent him straight into the wall. He bent the safer barrier all the way in, almost to the concrete wall. He got most of the blunt impact of that concrete wall, even with the regression of that safer barrier wall. It was a violent hit, really hard hit. And fortunate he was able to walk out. I don't know if there's not been any news or anything about a potential concussion. Hopefully that isn't the case, but very severe hit there for Blaney. And when that caution happens, Brad Keselowski ends up winning stage 2. He went through the wreck, moved on to win stage 2, so another playoff point for him. And then it kind of, again, great racing, 3 wide racing, just all kinds of moves, desperation. These guys were racing from pretty much the drop of the green flag. This was the best super speedway race we've seen in the next gen era, without a doubt in my mind. Just fantastic all day long. But with 5 laps to go, violent flip here by Ryan Preece. Got contact from behind, sent him to the grass, and his car just caught air as he's going through the infield. And I mean, violence, right? I mean, I've watched this wreck back so many times, and I just can't understand the geometry, the physics of this wreck. At one point, he's mid-air, and it looks like he's peaked on altitude, right? Like all the force that pulled that car up off the ground, and he's at like a standstill. And somehow, I don't know if it's all the underbody and the amount of downforce that the underbody creates, but this car at one point was peaked on verticality, and it went even higher than where it was. This is like an absolute defiance of gravity. Like whatever Isaac Newton decided was the laws of gravity. This wreck just changed that. This was physics unexplainable, right? And went airborne, did like 3-4 flips in mid-air before he ever came back, make contact with the ground. This was just the absolute craziest flip I've ever seen. People are saying, oh, it reminds me of a Rusty Wallace flip. I said it live on stream right when it happened. I was like, that's worse than Steve Park, because we've seen Steve Park when he flipped at Pocono. That one was very violent because of the way the car went up like this and just kind of rotated vertical. And it was just weird crash. But I think this one was worse than any other flip we've ever seen in NASCAR history. Defied physics, defied the laws of motion and gravity. We need to get absolute astrophysicists, I mean, the smartest people you could find in engineering or aerodynamics or aerospace engineers, whatever. We need to get them to study this crash, because everything we thought we knew about physics and gravity were just absolutely redefined here with this wreck. I've never seen an object in motion with that much verticality gain more verticality. Like what about this car was able to gain altitude when it was already at its peak altitude through a flip? I just can't explain it. I'm not a very smart person, not one bit, but watching this wreck, it just changed my entire thought on gravity and how gravity works. And then we didn't hear anything for a long time. It was actually really eerie. He never dropped his window net, wasn't talking to his crew on the radio. He got out of the car, fortunate, looked dazed. They took him to the medical center. He spent the night there, was released, and then he tweeted saying, if you're going to be a race car driver, you got to be tough. So it was good that he walked out of that. We haven't heard any updates whether he's racing this weekend or not. Hopefully we hear something soon. But just absolute crazy moment in this race. Restart late there. Buescher on the outside with his teammate Keselowski. Harvick on the inside of Buescher. Elliott behind him. Elliott's doing everything he can to win. Couldn't stay locked up to Kevin Harvick. The RFK guys, me and Tom predicted it last week, right? I've been saying for weeks that I thought Keselowski's going to win this race, and then Tom goes with his teammate Buescher, because we just know RFK. They should have had the 501, best team in the 500, but without a doubt, made a bad block late, right? Lost the race. We thought that they were going to learn something from that, and they were going to be able to be there at the end and win this race, and they did exactly that. Chris Buescher goes on to win, third race of the season that he's won with all this momentum. Keselowski again pushes Buescher to another win. Keselowski's so close to winning one. I really thought this was his race, but he stayed true to his teammate. Pushed him to the victory, so that was a good job by RFK. That was an RFK win for sure. And Buescher looking real strong coming into this playoffs. All right, and then we also had the ARCA East race, the Sprecher 150 at Milwaukee on Sunday. We saw William Swalich qualify on pole. And then again, like I mentioned with Riley Herbst, Frankie Muniz has more mechanical issues. Again, they can't keep this car together. Every race he goes to, he has either a power steering pump going out, has something broken on the front end, like we saw Watkins Glen, battery issues or alternator issues. Again, more mechanical issues for Muniz. I mean, this guy, how is he supposed to gain experience and get faster when you can't even put a reliable car underneath him? What are we doing, guys? Just really sad. And then we saw an awesome battle there at the end of this race between your two just dominant ARCA drivers, right? Swalich and Jesse Love battling it out. Swalich gets to the back of Jesse Love, sends him up the track. Just great racing, right? And Swalich goes on to beat Jesse Love, kind of taking the reins away from him here a little bit. It was a great battle. Swalich wins. It was awesome. Congratulations to him. And then after that was the Truck Series race, the Clean Harbors 175 at Milwaukee, like I mentioned again. Grant Enfinger qualifies on pole. There's not much to talk about in this race. Grant Enfinger and that GMS team, like I said, they're in their last two Raw. They're shutting down at the end of the year. Wow. What a championship-defining performance we saw this weekend out of that team and Grant Enfinger. Championship-esque drive. This guy, just isn't slowing down one bit. We've seen these type of drives out of Grant Enfinger before, and this was just probably one of the most masterclass drives we've ever seen. He wins stage 1. And then we had several crashes, like on lap 65 with Brad Perez, and then Greg Van Alst. Weird crash there. I'm not sure exactly what happened. It was just weird crash. Then Enfinger goes on to win stage 2. Swalich couldn't back it up. He was running up front. Just drove into turn 1 a little too deep. Got to the inside of, I believe it was Majeski. It might have been Ben Rhodes, one of the Thor Sport trucks, and went sideways, backed into the wall. And then Nick Sanchez, another guy, I pick him as my dark horse, really talented rookie, trying to make it into the playoffs, really killed his playoff chances. He spins out or gets crashed and backs into the wall, lost a lot of track position. But Grant Enfinger wins the race in dominant performance, advances to the round of 8. Could he be the championship favorite in the truck series, especially now that Majeski's got these issues? I think we're looking at Grant Enfinger to be a championship favorite. If he could back that performance up here later on in these playoffs, watch out. Grant Enfinger is going to be a very hard driver to take this championship from. And then also on Sunday, this was in the morning, the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. Obviously you know who's going to win before the race even starts, and history was made, right? Verstappen qualifies on pole. It starts raining early. Perez, he goes in, puts on the intermediate wet tires, and he leads the Grand Prix for a little bit. And then it quits raining, and they go back to make 4 pit stops. Verstappen recycles to lead lap 13. We had a safety car on lap 16 with Logan Sargent crashing. He had 2 wrecks this weekend, and they had pace. I mean, those Williams cars were really fast this weekend, especially in qualifying practice. And unfortunately, Logan Sargent, this guy is wrecking left and right. Everybody thought De Vries was bad. I think it's about time we start looking away from this Logan Sargent. He is just having a terrible year. And then rain starts hitting there with about 10 laps to go. We get a virtual safety car after Zhou crashes, the Chinese driver there for Alfa Romeo or Alpha Prime. All right, don't quote me on that. But that's a long video. But he ends up going into the wall, or brings out a virtual safety car, and it really didn't affect the finish here because Verstappen ends up winning 9th straight Grand Prix victory. This ties the record for the most Grand Prix victories in a row. If he wins the next Grand Prix, he will be now the all-time leader in Formula One history with the most consecutive Grand Prix victories. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. This guy is he's out here proving why he is the best driver in the world right now. There's, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, Max Verstappen is the best driver in the world. Just all there is to it. And then Fernando Alonso, great weekend for this guy. He's kind of fallen off, right? We saw him at the beginning of the year, podium after podium after podium. Finally gets back on the podium and actually has a run that was fast. He was there with Verstappen late in this race. He gets P2. And then how about this Alpine team, right? Pierre Gasly, P3. That's awesome. We've seen Ocon get his podium earlier this year. Now Gasly gets his podium. Awesome stuff. I love this Alpine team. Just this French manufacturer, French drivers, and they're out here getting faster and faster week in, week out. You can't count these Alpine guys out, man. These guys are just insane. This is awesome. I believe that Gasly and Ocon are probably the 2 most underrated drivers in Formula One. Everybody's over here looking at Charles Leclerc or George Russell or Lando Norris as being these guys. I think these guys are the true best drivers right there behind Verstappen, or I guess Alonso as well. But he's an older driver, he doesn't have all this time left on his side. But like Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, and they are super talented. If Alpine can retain these drivers and they can keep building on this momentum that they have rolling right now, oh man, Alpine might be a team to look forward to here in the future, and I am excited for that. And then Alonso, he got the fastest lap of the race. Him in the wet weather in this race, unstoppable. He was just blistering fast in the rain. So great job this weekend for Fernando Alonso. Next is the IMSA Michelin GT Challenge there at VIR. Like I said, Tom picked the number 14 Lexus to win this race. I picked the number 23 of Aston Martin to win this race. So like I said, Tom picked the 14 Lexus. They qualify on pole. We had a crash early between the number 92 Porsche, and it was pretty much the only crash of this entire race. This race, if you watch the Pilot Challenge race and you watch this one, it was night and day difference. This one wasn't as great. It was a good race in strategy, right? And that's what we saw. We saw the 14 Lexus leading most of this race, and later in the race, I think it was the final pit stop, the number 3 Corvette, Jordan Taylor driving at the time, they decide to undercut. They pit way early. This ends up cycling them to the lead, and they go on to win the race. Great race by this Corvette team. They had the pace. Absolutely put it on the Lexus team. They end up winning and closing that points battle, right? That Lexus team is dominating the points, and now that Corvette gets a win, big stuff for them. Jordan Taylor, Garcia, they win GTD Pro. And then again, the BMW team there with Sellers and Snow, they are just unstoppable at GTD. They are just dominating. They did it again. They win another race. So we'll have to look forward to a few more races. I think there's only 2 more races this season. We have the Battle at the Bricks and then the season finale at Petit Le Mans. So we'll see as the championship battles are closing down there. And then IndyCar, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. We saw Newgarden qualifying pole. He's trying to go for history as well, trying to go sweep the ovals this season, 5 for 5. He did really good in the beginning of this race. We saw a caution lap 1, Jordan with Peterson. He crashes. He got ran into by Ed Carpenter. What is Ed Carpenter doing here? Absolutely just bulldozes his way right through him. Ends up getting a time penalty or pass through. Well deserved. I mean, say what you will about Peterson. I mean, he's kind of a moron, but I mean, he got straight up taken out in this race. That's just plain and simple. Just boneheaded move by Ed Carpenter. Lap 1, a 500-mile race. You're gonna straight up dump somebody and put yourself that far behind the 8 ball. And this was a race that didn't see a whole lot of cautions, right? That was the first caution, lap 1. Next caution was lap 123 with Takuma Sato. Got a little wide, hit the wall, wrecks. And then during this, that ends up cycling Scott Dixon to the lead. He was on a complete different strategy. He stretched it out on that first run as far as he could. He ends up attaining the lead during this caution. And then obviously some of the strategy plays out again. Newgarden makes his final pit stop there with 49 or with about 50 something to go. He's stuck in traffic. He ends up getting aero tight. Boom, right into the wall. Oh, so unfortunate for Newgarden. Ended his race. 5 wins or sweeping the ovals did not happen for him. And then Dixon. I mean, Scott Dixon, the GOAT of IndyCar, in my opinion. Modern day GOAT. Just does what Dixon does. That 9 team of Ganassi, they do what they do. He ends up winning. Career win number 55 for Scott Dixon in IndyCar. I mean, a few weeks ago, we're looking at Scott Dixon. We're like, wow, he's so far out of the points. He hasn't won a race yet. Is he going to continue the streak? And then 2 weeks in a row, 2 back-to-back dubs. Just, he is turning up at the right time of year, which is what I'll mention here. I'll go over the Formula 1 points and IndyCar points real quick. So in Formula 1, I mean, there's not much to say. Verstappen still leading the points by a landslide, but Perez and Alonso are closing in their second, third. See if that gets interesting. I don't know if it will. And then obviously in the constructors, Red Bull's way out ahead. And then Mercedes right now is about 40 points ahead of Aston there in third. So we'll see if Aston Martin can turn it around. We know that they have a weak link, so that's probably not gonna improve itself over the next few weeks. Sorry to say it. And then for IndyCar points, Alex Palou, he is 74 points ahead of Dixon and 125 ahead of Newgarden. I think Newgarden's mathematically out of this. Well, not mathematically, but really realistically, he's out of this. But Dixon, he has cut this points lead down to 74 points. Wow. If he can put together 2 wins in a row, 2 fantastic drives, Palou has 1 bad race, we could be looking at a really close championship battle. Something that a month ago me and Tom said was over. And I don't think it's quite over yet. I really don't. And I will touch on that more here in a little bit. Also, real quick, we're going to go over the Driver of the Week, Bonehead of the Week segments. So this week, Driver of the Week, Parker Kligerman, P4 in Xfinity. He was complaining at the end of the race he wasn't getting a lot of help. He mentioned that several times. He still was able to come home P4 and take advantage of Riley Herbst, right? He's battling Riley Herbst for that last spot in the playoffs. He had a great run this weekend. P4 did everything he needed to do. He extended that lead that he has over Herbst now to about 20 points with 2 races to go. Can he make the playoffs? Can he do it? P4, great run by him this weekend. And then David Malukas, P3 in IndyCar. This guy was right there behind Newgarden and Pato O'Ward all day, right there about P3 all day. And he finished exactly where he was running all day, P3. Great job by him. And that Dale Coyne, Rick Ware Racing team, wow, good job by them. That was awesome to see. And then obviously Pierre Gasly, P3 in F1. This team is so slept on. I'm telling you, his driver slept on. Great run by them. P3, put him on the podium. And then for Bonehead of the Week, like I mentioned, Owen Trinkler crashing the leader in the Pilot Challenge Series, just absolutely uncalled for. Lap down and just sends your second place driver battling for the lead there. Really just flipped that race up on its head, changed the entire complexion of it. And then again, Frederick Vesti and team didn't even put their dang tires on the car. Safety car crash. I mean, the tires go flying off. Look like something out of a comic book. Just absolutely embarrassing for that team. Bonehead moves of the week. And then Ed Carpenter, obviously, wrecking bulldozer mode. He wrecks Peterson there, lap 1. Just killed his race right off the bat. Just, what are you doing? Especially Ed Carpenter, someone with that much experience. Why is he doing that? Lap 1. Like, you're kidding me, man. What are you doing? And then also, we got the playoff field decided this weekend. We'll have a podcast on Thursday. Hopefully Tom will make it. Maybe Dallas will make it. And we'll come up here and give you our playoff grids and predictions and who we think is going to win the championship. Don't want to spoil anything here tonight, but your playoff grid is decided. You got Truex, Byron, Hamlin, Buescher, Busch, Larson, Bell, Chastain, Keselowski, Reddick, Logano, Blaney, McDowell, Stenhouse Jr., Harvick, and Bubba Wallace makes the playoffs. So he survived. We didn't think he could do it. Didn't think he would do it. I thought his biggest enemy was going to be himself, and he did everything right and made the playoffs. So congratulations to him. And then we'll give you our predictions here on Thursday. We're going to have a limited edition, special edition podcast, go over the grid, and give you our predictions of who makes it to Phoenix and who wins the championship, who takes it all in 2023. All right. Now, also, this month is coming to a close, August. So it's time for another one of these watch party polls, right? It'll be coming out right after this podcast. The races this weekend, we have September 10th, IndyCar at Laguna Seca, the finale for the IndyCar Series season. So that will be an option. Also, September 16th, the Bristol Night Race. This will be the first cutoff race for the round of 12 for the Cup Series. And then September 17th, the IMSA at Indianapolis, the Battle of the Bricks. That'll be an option, as well as the September 23rd Formula One race at Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. That will be your final option. Whatever race you want to watch with us for the watch party, you vote on it. Whatever one gets the most votes will win that watch party. All right. Now it's time to preview the races this weekend, right? We got another great slate of races. We got Formula 1, Formula 2 at Monza. We got Indy NXT at Portland, second to last race of the season for IndyCar. And then we have the ARCA series at DuQuoin State Fair. And then the Xfinity Cup at Darlington for the Southern 500 weekend, the opening round of the Cup Series playoffs. Notable entries this weekend, as I mentioned, with Daniel Ricciardo with his injury. Liam Lawson will be filling in for him at AlphaTauri. Then in the IndyCar Series, like I mentioned, Tom Blomqvist will be running for the number 60 Meyer Shank, as well as Jury Vips for the number 30 Rahal Letterman Lanigan in IndyCar. Xfinity Series entries this weekend. This could be inaccurate. The Xfinity entry lists have been pretty inaccurate as of late, but this is what they had posted before the podcast. And it's Justin Haley. He'll be in the number 10 colleague car. Kyle Larson will be in the number 17 Hendrick Motorsports car. Trevor Bayne in the JGR car in the number 19. And then Corey Heim in the number 24 Sam Hunt Racing car. Rajah Caruth in the number 45 Alpha Prime car. And then Ross Chastain in the number 91 DGM car. Cup Series, JJ Yaley is back in the number 15 Rick Roy Racing car. And like I said, Carson Hocevar making a second Cup Series start here this weekend in the number 42 Legacy Motor Club car. And then Ryan Newman. He's back after an SRX champion, Ryan Newman, by the way. He'll be in the number 51 Rick Roy Racing car this weekend. All right, my predictions. The Xfinity Series on Saturday, the Sports Clip Haircuts VFW Help a Hero 200. My favorite for this weekend, I said it on the watch or on Saturday. I think I said it again on the watch or in the watch party on Saturday. I believe I think Sheldon Creed is going to get his first career Xfinity Series win right here at Darlington this weekend. It's coming. I swear. You can't finish second 2 weeks in a row. You can't be running up here in front like he does consistently. I think bad luck gets put away. He gets redemption from last year, right? He almost had this race won, was leading going into turn 4 here last year. but unfortunately didn't get to the checkered flag. I believe this he turns it around. I think Sheldon Creed's the favorite this weekend. I believe he takes the dub. And then my dark horse, and it's obvious because he's in a Sam Hunt racing car. I mean, they're not the fastest on a weekly basis, but I think this guy's got a ton of talent. I think this is a track that fits his driving style. This is a tough driver's track. Corey Heim hasn't made a lot of Xfinity Series start. Definitely dark horse, but I think you could see him getting a good solid top 10 finish at the end of this race. Sunday, the ARCA Series, like I said, at DuQuoin State Fair. The Southern Illinois 100. Jesse Love's going to win. I mean, that getting beat by Swallow, I think he's going to get a little bit of redemption. He's going to get back to victory lane, continue his winning ways. And then my dark horse, I'm going with Andres Perez. Sticking with it. Just like I said with Sheldon Creed, this guy's got a lot of talent, and he's on the verge of winning one of these things. And so I think he'll be a contender. I think he'll be a contender all day, and maybe he can sneak out with a win. Saturday, Sunday, the F2, the Monza Grand Prix. Not going to do any predictions on that because it's too unpredictable. Way too unpredictable. All right, Sunday, the NXT Firestone Grand Prix of Portland, right? I just don't think you pick anybody else but Christian Rasmussen, right? I think he wins again. Continues his dominant reign he has so far. I mean, it looked close earlier in the season with him, but Rasmussen's just kind of stepped up his game. 3 races to go. I think he wins again. Pretty much secures his championship outright. And then my dark horse, I'm going to go with Louis Foster. I think one of these races he's going to win. I was contemplating him and James Rowe because James Rowe has been real quick as of late. Could be a potential dark horse, but I just think if anybody's going to win out of that camp, I think it's going to be Louis Foster. I mean, this guy can drive, and I think that some good things are going to happen. I think he'll be in contention at the end of this race. And then Sunday, the Formula One Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Like I said, obviously it's going to be Verstappen. He's going to break all the records. He's going to win the most consecutive races won in Formula One history with 10. He's going to do it, dominating performance. I mean, those Red Bulls are just unstoppable. But my outside pick for a podium here, I'm going with Alexander Albon. I think that last week at Zandvoort, he was pretty quick. Stuff didn't work out in his favor to get to the podium. I think this weekend he does it. I think he'll be the third step on the podium behind Alonso and Verstappen this weekend. IndyCar, the BitNile.com Grand Prix of Portland. I think everybody's thinking Pelot, right? Pelot. He's been dominating this season. I think Dixon wins this race. He's been on an absolute tear as of late. I think he goes 3 in a row. I don't think there's any reason to think that he won't. I think he wins 3 in a row. I think Pelot may have some troubles in this race. That points lead's going to shrink, and it's going to get interesting going into the final race at Laguna Seca. I think it's going to be absolutely insane. We're going to have a close, tight points battle. And then my dark horse here, I think he's due. I think he's due for a solid top 3 finish. I don't think he's going to have the pace to win the race, but I think he'll be in the podium, and I think that's Colton Herta. I don't think he's really a dark horse. He shouldn't be considered a dark horse, but the way they've ran this season, he's got to be. So, Colton Herta. And then the Southern 500, the Cookout Southern 500 on Sunday. Start of the playoffs, right? This is go time. Stuff's got to get decided, right? I think Martin Truex Jr. wins this race. He had this race won last year, right? I think he had power steering issues there late. Lost the race, devastating fashion, but that was Truex's. That was just a bad year last year for Truex. Anything and everything that could have kept him out of victory lane kept him out of victory lane last year. I don't think that happens this year. I think he is on an absolute high this year. I think he wins this race, locks himself into the round of 12, and I think he does it in pretty dominating fashion. You saw how good he did here earlier this year at the 400. I think he just backs it up and does it again. But I think he turned it up a notch because it's the playoffs, and he is, I believe, the championship favorite. We've gone back and forth with him and Byron, but I think that Truex is the championship favorite. I think he gets it done this weekend. And then my dark horse, I'm not looking any further than his teammate. I think now that the pressure's off of not making the playoffs, I think that knowing that he's already got the Rookie of the Year secured, they've had the pace over the last few weeks. I think if anybody could potentially run up there with Truex, that's an outside looking in. I'm not picking my dark horse for this year are guys that are no longer eligible for the championship, right? I feel like that's fair enough. I think it's Gibbs. I think this is somewhere where he can succeed. I really do, and I think he could contend with his teammate Truex at the end of this race. All right. Now, before I get into NASCAR fantasy, actually we'll do fantasy first, and then I've got a bonus segment I kind of want to talk about here. So for my fantasy lineup this week, my 5-driver lineup, I'm taking Eric Jones just because I didn't want to put 5 playoff guys on. I felt like I wanted to spread the love a little bit here, and this is probably Eric Jones' best track on the entire NASCAR circuit, so I'm going to throw him in there. I picked him to do good in the 400, didn't do very well. I think maybe they turn it around. Legacy's not very good, but I think he can get a top 10. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And then, obviously, I'm going to load this up with playoff guys, the guys I think are true contenders for this weekend's race. Truex, obvious reasons. Larson, obvious reasons. Hamlin, obvious reasons. And Kyle Busch, obvious reasons, right? These guys are all dominant at Darlington. These are guys that could win this race, and I think that these guys are some of the guys you're looking at to make the Final Four. To be honest, these are the guys. And then the matchups, right? We got Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. I'm taking Hamlin over Harvick. I think Harvick's gonna be fast, but I mean Hamlin, just those Toyotas are gonna be dominant this weekend at Darlington. I just have a really strong feeling about it. And then Reddick and Bell. I think it's gonna be Reddick. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to, but I'm gonna take Reddick, and I'll explain more later on Thursday. And then Truex versus Byron. This is a good matchup. Both the two probably front runners for the championship this year, favorites. I'm picking Truex over Byron, and I know Byron won Darlington earlier this year. I know he's probably the guy everybody's looking at with Hendrick Motorsports, championship favorite. But Truex is going to turn it around. He had this race won last year. I feel like it's redemption. This year is just turning out to be a Truex-esque year. It really is, and I think the playoffs are going to change some things around. So I think he finishes higher than Byron. And then Keselowski, Blaney. Kind of like what I said with Reddick Bell. I'm not going to get too into it. I'll get into that on Thursday, but I think Keselowski finishes higher than Blaney. All right, my bonus segment here, real quick, before we get to Radioactive of the Week and then send you guys out of here this evening, is I got a comment on the Tony Breidinger Rising Star. This guy commented, I understand. I don't believe Hailie Deegan's great either, but where are you getting your stats for Tony Breidinger to justify how she's being good? Not only do I go based upon visual and then looking at results, you have to go to the true place to find the results, right? Racing Reference. So she's had, in her young career, she's had 3 truck starts. Her average finish is 18.7. That's half. That's basically finishing midfield, right? With 3 starts. Rookie. No expectations. Never drove these things 3 races. That's all she's ran. 18.7 average finish. That is absolutely insane. I know other drivers that have made more starts than that, who have a bigger sample size, who don't have that high of an average finish. That is really good. That is really good for what she's done, right? And then the ARCA, in her last 30 starts in the last 2 seasons, she's had 30 starts in the last 2 seasons. She's got 14 top 10s and 2 top 5s. And to put this into reality, I guess, or whatever the word I'm looking for is, this is the most stacked ARCA field that we have seen in 8-9 years. Like, this ARCA field this year is absolutely loaded. Just absolute talent everywhere with Sawalich, Perez. We've got Jesse Love, and then you've got other guys jumping down like Dean Thompson. You've got Gus Dean making starts. Sean Hingarani, Luke Fenhouse. I mean, this field of ARCA this year is just absolutely insane. We've seen Taylor Gray make starts in the ARCA this year. So just a strong ARCA field this year. And she has gotten 14 top 10s and 2 top 5s over the last 2 seasons in ARCA. That's good. That's good. And she's not even full-time either. So, yeah, it's insane. It's hard to not be full-time and come in and just, boom, back it up with another top 10. Boom, top 10, top 10. Especially with the quality of field we have. And I just mentioned the top-heavy guys. There's other guys out there like Frankie Muniz, Greg Van Alst, Dale Quarterly whenever he makes starts. These guys are capable top 10 guys as well. And she's outrunning most of these guys as well. So, Great stuff. And then I haven't even mentioned Jack Wood making starts in the Xfinity or in the ARCA series. I mean, it's stacked. It's stacked. It really is. And she's been doing great. Her average finish of 12.1 in the ARCA series. And like I said, I mentioned 15 different drivers that are quality top 5, top 10 contenders on a weekly basis. She got 12.1. Great stuff. Great stuff. And then, like I said, if you just watch her on track, just watch her progression from 2-3 years ago to now, you can see the major improvement in her racecraft. She's finishing these races. She's not crashing. She's staying up on the lead lap in a lot of these races when in the past she wasn't. She's adjusting and adapting to this car in exactly what you want to see from a young driver, right? Someone that doesn't have a lot of experience. They're just improving weekly basis, just finding a way to improve their racecraft and be there at the end of the race. And that's all you can ask for. Alrighty, so now our radioactive of the week segment. We didn't get anybody to predict it this week, but this week's radioactive of the week, if you can guess this quote or what driver said this quote in the comment section of the poll below after this podcast, you'll get a shout out in next week's episode. So the quote is, "This number 6 looks like my dog when he has the zoomies." If you can guess which driver said that, you will get a shout out in our next episode. Alrighty. That pretty much summarizes the race or the podcast this week. Amazing racing this weekend. If you guys didn't enjoy any of those races, I don't know what to tell you. We saw some fantastic races this weekend. This coming up weekend, some more great races. We got the start of the playoffs. IndyCar winding their season down. Some crazy stuff's about to happen there, I believe. And then we'll be back on Thursday. Like I mentioned, we're going to do a special edition podcast. We're going to be giving you our playoff grids, predicting round by round who makes it, who advances, and who ultimately comes out as the 2023 champion. I'm sure all of our stuff will be a little different, so stay tuned to that. Also, like I mentioned at the end of the podcast, there'll be a poll coming out for the watch party for this month. Make sure you guys vote. Come enjoy the watch party with us. We had a ton of people in there on Saturday. It was fun, and that one wasn't even planned. So now that you guys have a few days to vote on the next podcast, go ahead and do so. We'll watch whatever race you guys vote upon. Also, I just want to give a quick plug for our store, right? Wearing my Big Daddy NASCAR hat, Dega Boys Broadcasting. Also wearing a t-shirt that says, if you don't watch Dega Boys on YouTube, then you know what, And so go check it out. Go check out our store. Go buy some products. Everything you buy from that store, we end up getting a percentage of, and it helps us out a lot. It allows us to keep creating more great content for you. And we've got so much great content coming. We got so many great ideas. I've been working on a bunch of things behind the scenes that I want to get finished. Time putting it all together takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and just trying to give you guys the best content we can give you guys here on YouTube. We're winding down the end of the season, and this content that's coming up throughout the off season is going to be great. Like I said, the special edition podcast, you guys are going to love it. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to go through the playoff grid and give you our opinions, because we're giving it based upon everything we've seen so far this year, right? And with that being said, I just want to say thanks to everybody that came out on Saturday for the watch party. Thanks to everybody that watches our videos, have notifications on, and watches them every day. There's some good content. You guys just got to go check it out. We've got every opinion of all the motorsports out in the world. It's great stuff. We appreciate you guys coming and watching it. Everybody that puts a like on our videos helps us hit the recommended on, hits the algorithms. The comments you guys give are great, and I do my best to respond to those comments. I go out and I heart your comment when I think the comment's a great comment. I appreciate the interaction. We have the crash compilation video coming out here in a few days, end of the month of August. So make sure to check that out. Those get a lot of views, and you guys seem to love those. They aren't going to stop. They're going to keep coming. And thanks to everybody that's bought products from Dubby. They help us out a ton. Thanks for going and buying products from our store. There's been a lot of purchases in our store as of late, and it seems like you guys are liking our merch. And if you guys got any other merch ideas, go ahead. Also, I'm going to shout out Dallas Seward. He came out Saturday. He was on the watch party. It was a fun time. We had a great time. I hope he had as much fun as I did. It was awesome. I enjoyed talking racing with him. And also to bring him up, he gets a shout out because he is a member on our membership program on our channel. So if you want to become a member, if you want to make a donation to our channel to help us bring out more content, be able to do these fun, entertaining things on the weekends, like for the watch parties, or have more cool content coming out for you guys to enjoy, pick a membership level tier that best suits you and what you want to be a part of the channel. There's some great perks that we offer. I mean, just you're gonna get behind the scenes. You're gonna get to be a part of the boys. You're gonna be able to hang out with us and interact with us on a daily. So pick a tier that best fits you, and we really would appreciate it. Really would appreciate it. And you get some super chats and stuff to put in the chat, some memes, cool little snippet thumbnails and stuff. There's some cool perks. Just go check it out. We really appreciate it. This has been my passion my whole life. I love motorsports. I love racing. There's just nothing that compares to racing, right? It's the ultimate test of racing car drivers mastering vehicles and pushing them to the edge and outperforming other guys in the same scenarios, and teams putting all of their work and hard work into building these race cars, and then the team at the track being able to master the setup and the strategy to be able to get to the end of these races. That's racing to me. That's why I love racing. I just love the competition aspect of it, the strategy that gets played out, and then just watching dominance, right? Who doesn't enjoy dominance in racing? Seeing one team just absolutely outperform everybody else and then take the victory and then sustain it throughout an entire season. It's just so fascinating. And yeah, I just love racing. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for coming out here tonight. And we will see you guys again on Thursday. And just stay tuned to the channel, turn on notifications. And we got lots of more awesome, great content coming to you guys. And that will do it. This is Jay. And thank you for coming. Episode 31. And I'm signing off. Have a good evening.